Day 6. With 2 more to go. And it's raining? Oh crap. And it's raining. Very cold rain. Crap. Sorry for the false start. I'll be back. Well, I tried something different to try and thwart the garbage trucks, but it started raining. Wow. I mean, when it's this cold out, it might as well just go to snow. Wow. So it's day 6. And I don't know if I can film this for you or not, but maybe you want to see the friends that I have to hang out with. Little 4-legged friends. Watch for movement. Nothing's more fun than waking up and having rats crawling around you. So I only have a few days left, 2 days left of recording here. In the last video, I talked about Bob Crane, who played Colonel Hogan in Hogan's Heroes. And I just went and took a quick look at that, see if there was any update, and there wasn't. But 2 corrections. First of all, he was not stabbed to death, he was bludgeoned to death. So he was beaten to death, but that's basically the same thing. He was lying on his stomach, so someone came up and saw his back, and started killing him in bed. And his friend that he trusted, John Carpenter, actually did at one point go on trial for that, and he was acquitted. And I took a little bit closer look at that, and they should not have taken that to trial. They just didn't have enough evidence. They should have waited. So it's kind of like with the O.J. Simpson trial. I remember that. I was in school, so I had an opportunity to watch a lot of the trial in real time as it happened. And as much as I hated to say it because it was so obvious that he was guilty, I think the verdict was correct, not guilty, because the prosecution failed. I mean, it was kind of borderline. It's hard to say, but you got to look at what the judge's charges to the jury are and things like that. Also, that girl from Family Affair, remember when I heard that she had died of what I thought was a heroin overdose in the car with my mom, I was picturing a little 6 or 7-year-old girl with pigtails with a heroin overdose. By that time, she was actually 18 years old. Now, I'm almost positive they said heroin, but that was 50 years ago. I could be wrong. Turns out that it was barbiturates. And in fact, what happened was when she died, a doctor there in Los Angeles was investigated and put on trial. He was writing prescriptions for various drugs for the teenagers of Los Angeles, like candy, which oddly enough is kind of what I see happening with the high school here in Burnsville. I mean, just based on what I've seen, I don't feel like I'm totally off base by estimating that roughly half the students in that high school are probably on certain kinds of drugs. Prescription, Adderall, ecstasy, and certainly weed, if they want to call it weed. It's the mind-altering drug. And a lot harder stuff too. A lot harder stuff. I met one girl who almost died when, what was she trying to come off of? She almost died just trying to get off of, I can't remember, that was many years ago. That's why when I filmed the drug dealers there were some Somalis who were selling to the high school kids, and all the evidence said that it was heroin. And in fact, when I went to a shelter and talked to some heroin addicts and just walked them by it, and they said, well, it certainly sounds like it could be heroin, you know, based on what you're describing. And when I went in Cub Foods and told them about that, they called the police and told the police to tell me never to be in their parking lot again. But the deals continued. So that's how much the people of Minnesota have cared about anything I've had to say in the 20 years I've been here. Hence the reason I'm dying in Minnesota instead of living anywhere else on the face of planet Earth. And that's also probably the reason why American Musical Supply set up shop here. It's a lawless state. And in a lawless state, you can get away with a lot of things, even killing off your own employees. So the drug epidemic, even with this thing of doctors and big pharmacy having so much to do with it, you know, I see it as really kicking into gear in the 80s, because that's when they, well, I mean, they had always been attached with anti-smoking, but that's when they really kind of made the pact, you might say, the devil's pact. But I mean, this goes way back, and you can see documentaries about certainly marijuana, you know, reefer madness in the 30s, but there was substantial heroin problems even in suburbia. Housewives whose husbands would go to work and the wives end up on heroin, and it's been going on for too long. It's destroyed too many lives, but I tried to help, but nobody cared. Least of all American Musical Supply. So, whatever. I was looking in the mirror in the bathroom. Had this all zipped up and bundled, and I look like Kenny from South Park. And the phrase there is, "You killed Kenny, you bastards." And I thought of that, and I thought, you know what? Whoever killed Kenny this time got more chastisement for that than American Musical Supply has gotten in 2 years for obliterating my entire life and murdering me in a horrifying slow death. No one has even looked at them funny, but in South Park, a comic book, every time Kenny's killed, they at least call them a bastard. It's just, you can't make this up. You can't make it up. Whew. Oh, God. I'm under an overhang, but there's still a little bit of water blowing over. Not much, but enough to make me. And I'm just worn down. I've had this cold for a week. This change of season cold, which is something I don't need when I'm malnourished and when I can't sleep and I have to walk everywhere and drag myself as it is. I don't know how I don't have pneumonia. I am so exhausted. I'm more exhausted than Stephen Hawking after going on a rampage at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. What? Don't believe me?
1 minute to midnight. We hit the street, cold as a cadaver, hard as concrete. Doomsday's hacking, the baby Mac. Got my AK-47 and the 9 in my back. The Alpine's blowing, PE's flowing. Got my swerve on tight and my game face showing. Them damn punks are gonna pay. The hawks on the case, a bird of prey. Then up ahead, cold chilling in the street. 6 motherfuckers from MIT. I flick off the safety, check my grip, and load. A dumb clip. I glance at the Doom to make sure he's packed. His fingers on the trigger of his baby Mac. Time to give a Newtonian demonstration of a bullet, its mass and its acceleration. 9 on my lap, AK in my hand. I roll up slow, like a snake in the sand. I wait till I'm sure they can see my face. Then I bust out slugs to the beat of the bass. Streets sketched out in the full moonlight. MIT punks dying left and right. There's nowhere to run, don't even try. Cause all my shootings be drive-bys.
Drop bars. Drop by.
So there's a phenomenon I deal with that is really difficult, and it comes under that category of things that you just can't understand. You literally have to experience it to understand it. And I mean, this has been going on the whole time, but when you consider what's going on right now, this is the end. All the resources are gone, and they ain't coming back. Every single thing I did and acquired and built and worked so hard to accomplish in a 58-year life. Sorry, I give out different numbers, but I forget how old I am. I'm 58 now. And it's all been totally obliterated. There's nothing left. And I'm talking about this phenomenon where the people around me who know what's going on, it doesn't bother them, and they don't take it seriously. And it's hard to explain because, you know, I don't expect necessarily, well, I don't know, I mean, I kind of do. I mean, if I saw this happening to somebody I cared about, that would be my new full-time job, is trying to do something for them. So I guess in that sense, I don't understand it. Because these are people who know me enough that they like me, and they are very good to me. Like I say, these are the salt of the earth people I'm talking about, who are so generous with me when they have very little to give. They're incredibly generous and kind and thoughtful, but not always. Like, they'll be kind this one moment, they will buy me a sandwich one day, and then 3 days later they throw away 20 pounds of sandwiches right in front of my eyes. Like I said, because the health department forces them to, and it's hard to reconcile the things you see. But the way that they are so completely oblivious to the kind of suffering I'm dealing with is mind-boggling to me, because especially the last 2 months since I've been out of the hotel, they've been seeing me basically every day to some extent. And what's going on here with the 7 days and the countdown to the very end, I've made it known to everyone there, and it's just gone in one ear and out the other. You can tell even as I'm saying it that it's not even registering. They're not even paying attention. So they don't have the foggiest idea, as if I never told them. And it's like when I was at the gas station today. And granted, this is a very young one, very young. I think she's 16 or something. And the thing is, her behavior is that, I mean, I never had kids, so I don't know for sure, but I would guess probably like 10, 11, 12 years old. That's how she behaves, but she speaks like a 16-year-old. So if you take the little kids who are just bundles of energy, like I certainly was, and they're just running and they can't stop, and they're jumping and climbing, and they're screaming in this high-pitched whelp that just goes into, 10 octaves above Minnie Riperton and that kind of thing. And but in this case, imagine kids doing that, but they're talking about boys and clothes and perfume and things like that. It's a weird thing I'm witnessing there. She's a really nice girl. She's a real sweetie. I hope I hope she's able to grow up soon. She's really nice, but dang, I mean, she's gone through like 3 boyfriends who she calls her husband in the last 2 weeks or so. And that high-pitched squealing, but just every time she talks to a boy, she'll come running around everyone, and sometimes she'll come out running over to me, and she'll just tell me she just runs, and she puts her hands on the table and jumps up in the air and almost does a handstand, and I'm just sitting here dying. I have no energy to even reach down and tie my shoe. And it isn't just because I'm old and she's super young. It's just she's absolutely oblivious to what I'm going through. This is her life, and that's fine. I don't want to drag her down to where I'm at either, but she's not grasping that when I'm there working on the computer and I'm working on videos like this and stuff, because I only have a few days left to live, I'm probably not interested in having someone come over to me with that kind of thing every 10 minutes or so, maybe once a night or something. But again, I'm not here to put her down. She's doing what she does, but that's representative of everybody who knows me, who knows what I'm going through. They blow it off as if it ain't no big thing. And even when I tell them this is the final end, this is it, it's over. I'm gonna be gone soon. It just goes in one ear and out the other. They don't even know what they're hearing, because they have a heart. They know I'm homeless, and that's enough to inspire them to help me. God bless them for doing that. But to take it to another level, for example, sharing my videos with other people. They have Facebook accounts and Instagram and all that. Do they do that when I ask them to? No. Had they done that, I might have had tens of thousands of people having watched those things over the last year and a half. And you know what? Something might have come out of that that would save my life. And I've asked them specifically, please do this for me. I'm not on Instagram and all that stuff. And they've never done it. Like I just mentioned in the last video, I put in probably 200, 250 hours working on all those mixes, 6 gigabytes of mixes, and I give it to them, and in a month since I gave it to them, I'm not aware that even one of them has even opened it to look at the files to see what's even there, let alone listen to anything. I mean, the attention span and the inability to focus on something serious, even for a short period of time, is really frightening to me among young people. And some of these are a bit older. I mean, they're not all 20-year-old, you know, some of them are a bit older. It doesn't bode well for the future of society. And it doesn't feel good. On the one hand, you've got people who care enough about you that it does occur to them, hey, you know, Paul looks hungry, I'm going to buy him a sandwich, and I'm just, my heart's so warm and I'm so grateful. Then, you know, again, a few days later, they're throwing out a whole bunch of food right in front of my eyes, and it doesn't even occur to them what that does to me. And then all the other things, people's priorities and the things that are on their mind sometimes just go off into a la-la land that I don't understand why that's an issue for you, but this isn't. And, you know, it wouldn't take a whole lot of time for them to go on Facebook and Instagram over the year and a half they've known me. Well, I've actually known them longer, but, I mean, since this started, it doesn't take them long. It's a 5-minute project, you know, to go in and just share that or post it on their homepage, say, hey, my friend's got a problem here, please check this out. But not one of them has ever done it. And, again, you just don't know what it means to be alone in the world, even when you're surrounded by people, and even when you're surrounded by people who do, in fact, help you in very kind and generous ways, for which I'm extremely grateful. I've always said all along that if I came out of this as a multi-millionaire, I would take really good of care of those people. It's just weird. I don't know how to explain it. That's not how I function. If I see something like, I mean, even with these people, I'd say almost every one of these people, yeah, I would say pretty much almost every one of these people, they've had something come up in their life, and I have gone out and done research on things. Early on, I even sold some things to raise some money to help them, and you know, I mean, I go out and I do actions that take time and require me to move my focus from television and the internet and staring at a phone. It requires me to devote effort toward helping this person, and I would do it probably for all of them at some point, one way or another. And it's second nature. I don't think anything of it, and I don't count that as anything that resembles a loss. But they won't do that. I mean, if it just suddenly occurs to them, hey, Paul's hungry, I'm going to buy him a sandwich, bam, they just buy me a sandwich impulsively. But if I ask them to do something like, when you get home, sit down and spend 5 minutes posting my link on all your channels, they won't do it. I don't get it. And the thing is, in the end, that kind of tells you what they really do think of you. They clearly like me. They're very nice to me. They defend me. But I mean, I just hope they're not that way with their family and their best friends from childhood and stuff. I mean, I hope they have I hope they're more reliable friends for the people who are really counting on them. I can't even relate to what I'm seeing here, is what I'm getting at. When I was growing up, this wouldn't happen. This isn't the way people related to each other at all. It was, friendship was real. You had fights and friendships break up and all that, just like people dating, but this super high level superficiality, wow. I mean, among everybody, just as a new culture, I don't know what to make of it even. I don't even know how to describe it. It's one of the strangest things I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know how they're going to make it through life. I mean, what are they going to do? They can't focus on anything, and when they start butting heads with all the bad guys that I've been battling against all alone my whole life, these people who know how to exploit them and take their money and effectively enslave them, I mean, when they start getting older and getting caught up in these traps, how are they going to get out of it? They don't have the skills to organize or to get together and coordinate things. They can't do anything. And these are good people, and it really worries me for them. I mean, it reminds me of the Bible, you know, when after the rapture and the Antichrist shows up, and he's going to have the mark of the beast. So you're going to have some kind of a mark on the right hand or the forehead. Who knows what that means, but it's some kind of sign of allegiance. And if you take the mark of the beast, you will go to hell for eternity. There's no way out of it. You can never reverse that, because it isn't just a political sign of loyalty to the Antichrist. It's a sign of your worship to Satan. And when I was growing up, that was one of the objections that a lot of people would have, thinking people would have, about, you know, the rapture happening in the 1980s or something. It's like, nobody's gonna, are you crazy? I mean, yeah, there's people out there who would fall for this, but you don't think people would actually take that mark, right? Especially if you look at like China, communist China. You think they're gonna, within a matter of weeks, submit to some new world ruler? This is communist China, for heaven's sakes. These guys get off on having complete dictatorial control over the lives of more than 1 billion people. You think they're going to give that up to anybody? But when you start looking at what I'm describing here, which wasn't a way of life for people when I was growing up, just 40 years ago even, I can suddenly see how, yeah, if someone comes up and says, you're not going to eat unless you get this stamp on your hand, they're going to say, like, here's my hand. They're not even going to think. I mean, they're not thinking, they're not understanding, they're not comprehending, and they don't have a desire to. They will say, yeah, stamp my hand, and then they will go spend a half hour worrying about a basketball player or some celebrity in Hollywood. I mean, yeah, I can see exactly how Satan can drag couple billion people to hell in the end times when that happens. I can see exactly how now. 40 years ago, no way. Most people were way, way too autonomous and self-directed for that to happen. Just your average Joe on the street had more get up and go. These people have none, and it's a very sad thing to see. And along those lines, as I go over that kind of thing, I guess if I were to characterize today, so today, again, I haven't thought so much about what happened to me as where I'm headed, and I guess the best way to summarize that is just, other than I'm kind of starting to get excited about, heaven. A little excited about that. But as far as this world and what I'm leaving behind and how I'm leaving it behind, I'd say the phrase overwhelming sadness is kind of how I've felt all day. And one reason is because of things like I just described with these people who are special to me and who I would go to the ends of the earth to help, and they won't walk 10 feet to do it. They'll just instinctively do something if they think of it on the spur of the moment. And heck, I mean, some of these people, they probably, now I think of it, they've probably given me their last dollar for a sandwich and had trouble paying their own rent. And it's like, you know, as much as that's a wonderful thing to do, the fact is, maybe they should have kept that for their rent. I mean, so even when they do good things, they might be hurting themselves or others just because it's not done in a grown-up, focused, self-directed manner. You know what I mean? I'm really worried about these people. Like that girl who's such a sweetheart. She's just such a nice person, but she literally acts like she's 10, 11, 12 years old. And she's going to be driving soon and getting out of high school, and that's, I don't know. Then here's something else that really knocked the wind out of me today, and I mean literally, it was, I didn't feel the punch to the gut or anything like that, but the end result was just one of those, oh, and just absolute agony as this came to me. When I was posting that yesterday's video this morning, and on the thumbnail I updated it and I threw on a couple pictures this time. I threw on a picture of Bob Crane, for example, who played Hogan's Heroes. When I went and looked up the pictures of those to grab one of them was a signed autograph photo of him. So from back around Hogan's Heroes period, so late 60s, early 70s. And it had been sold on an auction site. That photo sold for $400. And among the, as I mentioned before, among the things that I've lost in my California storage, which represented the first 40 years of my life, including my childhood, among the so many things that I did when I was a kid, from the time I was able to write and mail things, so I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, really probably until I was 15, somewhere in there. So for many years, for about 6 years, it was a hobby of mine to go to the library, because we didn't have the internet, and use what it was like fun being a detective, to find out how to contact celebrities, famous people. Back then it was a lot different. It was a lot easier to access them because it was so much harder to get their address that they could be a little safer releasing that information. It was usually their publicist or something like that, their personal assistant or what have you, but you could find them. And I would find them and I would mail them and ask for an autographed photo of them. And what I ended up with was a huge book full of, and I mean, I don't even know how to estimate how many, but autographed photos, most of which are named to me. They're signed, you know, to Paul. And they were the official publicity photo, and they were signed to me. So, I mean, it's hard for me to remember how many, but like, you know, the Rat Pack, so all the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., presidents, so President Carter, President Reagan, not Ford. Jesus, there's just so many people. I mean, a lot of people from television, sports figures. Yeah, that's another thing, baseball cards. I mean, back then I had baseball cards, all the, jeez. I mean, it was before my time, but I still had the cards, like Joe DiMaggio, that kind of things. I was never into baseball. It was weird. I was into baseball cards, but I never liked baseball. I remember I liked Hank Aaron a lot, and Thurman Munson, because Thurman Munson, when he took his picture, he just had this look that said, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm the boss on that field. And you could just tell it wasn't him copping an attitude. It's like, I know what I'm doing. And that struck me as a kid. I always liked Thurman Munson's photos on his cards. So all those baseball cards are gone, and you can only imagine how much those are worth. But all these photographs, my point is that I had Bob Crane, right? Hogan's Heroes, signed to Paul from Bob Crane. And sometimes they'd put a bigger message than others. And geez, I can't even remember, but there were so many scientists, even academic leaders. I mean, I got as many people as I could. And I wasn't doing it for money. I was doing it because it was a hobby and it was a neat thing. And of course, as I got older, it turned out to be a really neat thing. As those people started dying off and we start separating by a decade and 2 decades and 3 decades and 4 decades of when they signed those things really became special. And they take me back to when I was a kid. And those are the people who ran the world, who were significant in the world when I was growing up. They were the influences on me, you know, Evel Knievel, that kind of, the heroes, people like that. And it's not something I ever would even think of selling. I never had any intention of selling it. I put them on my wall in frames. Well, I lost them all in California storage, thanks to American Musical Supply. So when I saw this, because I've never looked at selling them, and I saw that this Bob Crane one sold for $400, and I did a little math in my head, and I realized that, you know, I mean, if you extrapolate that, if you can, I don't know if you can or not, but some of these other ones were, to me, far more valuable than Bob Crane. You know, movers and shakers, astronauts. I mean, these are people. Anyway, the upshot is I just did some math in my head, and if I take that as a guideline, and it's you know, I'm sure it's higher or lower, but if I take that as a guideline by the math of it, that's anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 I lost just in that one little book, well, big book of photos that I collected as a child. Just that. None of the other stuff I have, which is all 50 years old as well. The baseball cards, the Mad Magazine, complete Mad Magazine collection, all the comic books that were in individual wrappers, the Casper, Richie Rich, Archie, not the Marvel stuff, but those other type. That's what I've been saying all along, that American Musical Supply cost me in value probably $250,000, but I came up with that number before I even realized that these photos would have that kind of value, so it might be $300,000. I mean, they cost me everything. And I did nothing whatsoever to deserve it. Absolutely nothing. I was just brutally, savagely attacked by these people. I just go into work, and in my only safe place in the world, where I feel as safe as Bob Crane did inside his hotel room, his locked hotel room. And I get stabbed in the back by these people, and no one out there cares enough about this to even just call them up on the phone and say, "You bastards," like they do in a comic, South Park, whenever Kenny dies, let alone investigate them, prosecute them, and put them in prison. And with that in mind, that's the part that makes me really anxious to get out of here. I don't want to die. I love being alive. There's so much I want to do with my life. There's enough in this world for me to explore and learn and be thrilled by for 10,000 years. But when I look at what people have become just in my lifetime, that these guys could do that to me in the first place, and my coworkers who I sat next to and counted as friends for 7 years apparently did nothing, just sat by and watched it happen. And then everyone else out there who hears about this, and they actually comprehend the horror of it and the historical precedents, what a Holocaust is, what it feels like to be murdered, the seriousness of the crime of murder. People who comprehend those things, even they won't do anything. I don't know of one person anywhere ever who has taken my links, and there might be, but I don't know, but who has any kind of significant following on these other places, who has put it on their Facebook and their Instagram and TikTok or whatever, and said, "Hey, you know, take a look at what this guy's going through. This is something that This is something that shouldn't be going on under the radar. This is more important than a celebrity getting a divorce. I was there working on the computer, and I had the headphones on. I was probably editing a video. And one of these women at the store where I was sitting there, she literally came running over, screaming like almost bloody murder. Completely interrupted whatever I was doing. I was just like, what? And she's hysterical. And I'm like, geez, what the heck? Did someone else get hit by a car, get their face wiped off by one of these Minnesotans who doesn't obey the law, or what? Oh, excuse me. She was upset. I might have been outside. I can't even remember. All I know is she came over and she's like half hysterical. I don't even know what she's talking about. She says, yelling, screaming. It's actually hurting my ears. My inner ear it hurt physically. What she was so upset about was some country, I guess a country star from his name, some celebrity was getting a divorce, married to Nicole Kidman. And I'm thinking, like, you've got that much emotional investment in a couple celebrities' marriage and divorce, but I can't get anybody to just put a link to everything I've done over the last year and a half while homeless without being paid a dime on their Facebook and Instagram. It's like, you have that much investment in these people's lives who you'll never meet. Who cares? I'm sorry if anyone's getting a divorce, but it's not my concern. I don't know these people, and neither do you. I don't know how this. I don't know how the species, as I'm leaving it, is going to continue to function into the future much longer. I think you're in for some very significant changes, and they're probably not going to be good ones. It's the natural course of events when a population becomes that utterly incompetent, just completely incompetent at living and ruling themselves. They're going to end up being ruled by other people, and it's going to be ugly. And I'm not here to predict when or how that's going to happen, but with history as a guide, I can promise you that those who I leave behind are, whether it's 5 years from now or 20 or 30, but you are headed toward a time when the only way society is even going to be able to function, the only way you're going to have paved roads, is if strong people take over all of your lives completely. It's the only way, because the people out there are not competent anymore. They can't function at all. And that's just the way it's going to happen. You're going to lose your freedom, you're going to lose democracy, and you should, frankly, if that's the way it is. And then, I believe the world's going to end before that anyway, because it's time for the judgment of God. But if the world was going to go on for another 10,000 years, yeah, after another 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years, they would come back to democracy again. It's cyclical like everything else. That's why I know it's going to happen. But you guys are in a heap of trouble if this is what we're dealing with. And nobody cares. It's an idiocracy is what it is, like I said in the last video. But yeah, losing all those photographs and realizing they had that much value, which is, I never cared about the value of them. I never wanted to sell them. I wanted those on my wall. They're special to me. I remember every one of them. They're addressed to me. Some of them have my first and my last name. These were addressed to me. Sometimes I would write a letter and tell them something, and they would refer to that in it. These were very special, and that's going to make them even more valuable. And it's all gone because of American Musical Supply. And nobody will do anything about them. And everyone's just watching me die. I had one more note to talk about radio, because I had mentioned that radio was king back then when I was growing up. It wasn't television. Television was there, but radio was still king. But after talking about all this stuff, I don't even want to anymore. what's the point? Maybe I will tomorrow on the last video, but right now I'm spent. It's just as if the actual experience I'm going through and the attack and the loss and the pain and the suffering and the freezing cold and the rain, and as if all these things isn't enough, I have to go through knowing that these people who are, quote, the closest to me, who do kind things for me, like buy me a sandwich when I'm hungry, that they're doing it for other reasons, and they don't even realize that when push comes to shove, they won't do the things that actually would help me. And even when I tell them, by the way, next Monday's when I'm headed to the wilderness to die, just flies right through their head. That's how much they really care about me. That's just got me really down. Like I said, overwhelming sadness. And with that, I will sign off, and I'll have one more video for you there on Sunday, I guess. Thanks for watching.